Good morning. It is extremely exciting to be here, and thank you and welcome everyone to the third annual Advanced Nuclear Summit. We're thrilled that once again the nuclear community is on time and shows up. This is the third year in a row that we are now basically standing room only, so it reinforces the interest and passion in the topic we're here to talk about. At the first Advanced Nuclear Summit 3 years ago, the technology was alone in the wilderness. Developers were isolated from each other, they were isolated from funding opportunities, and they were isolated from other clean energy innovators. The federal government, with the exception of many of you here in this room, were barely aware of the work being done. In just 3 years, that has changed dramatically. Advanced nuclear is on the brink of thriving. It has gone from isolated researchers to a growing community. Based on research that we started in 2015, projects are up by 56%. In 2015, there were 48 projects. Today, there are 77 in development in North America. And on almost a monthly basis, we're getting calls from different developers telling us that either we missed one or a new project is spun off. The community is getting federal support. The Department of Energy launched the Gateway for Accelerated Innovation in Nuclear, establishing private-public partnerships so far that have expedited deployment of 98 separate projects. And nuclear innovation is one of the few areas of continuity between the Obama administration and the Trump administration. In fact, it is one of the rare areas where that bipartisanship has leaked over into Congress. And advanced nuclear has champions on both the Republican side, led by Senator Lisa Murkowski, who is the chair of the Energy Committee, and on the Democratic side by Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, who's perhaps the leading climate advocate in the US Congress. And as you will hear soon from Senator Michael Bennet from Colorado, the community is gaining interest in new corners of Congress and in new corners of the country. So far, we've had 7 advanced nuclear bills introduced in Congress. More are being written. And we have 5 that have passed the House or the Senate with bipartisan support. It is a huge credit for advanced nuclear and also a sign of the times that having bipartisan legislation pass is a rarity. But it's something that we should really embrace and be proud of. And this is happening quickly. 3 years ago, the theme of the summit was advanced nuclear exists. Now, as advanced nuclear reactors get close to deployment, we need to think bigger. It is time to transform the reputation of nuclear energy in the broadest terms, not just by innovating in the technology, but also by how we innovate in engaging different communities. The R&D phase could take place basically entirely within the world of developers. But as developers are beginning to make real plans for deployment, advanced nuclear cannot live within its own niche. This means working with government regulators to get approval for locations, for designs, and for processes. It means partnering with local communities to establish friendly, trusting relationships. And it means taking the time to really think through the security and safeguard implications of reactors that could fit on the back of a pickup truck, could have easily removable cores, or could be vulnerable to cyber attacks. And it means easing the tensions between nuclear and renewables, because both are on the same side in the fight against climate change. And let's look at that another way. Over the next 30 years, the world is going to need to add zero emissions power to meet demand across the world and replace all of the existing emitting sources. To do this, we will need a lot more renewables than we have today. We will need to keep the existing nuclear plants open, and we need to get advanced nuclear commercialized. If this sector wants to thrive, it needs to think now about how to engage these communities and how developers, operators, and advocates can work together on this engagement. Today's summit is different from the previous three, not just in the previous two, not just in location, but also in what we're focusing on. We've broadened the aperture to identify different communities that we are engaging and that we think the advanced nuclear community needs to engage. The ones we've identified are the potential host communities, the national energy and investor communities, the international community, and finally, the broader clean energy innovation community. First, let's look at host communities. These are the people and the institutions where developers hope to build reactors. Advanced nuclear has the potential and the power to spur economic growth, to invigorate workforces, and to form the foundation for meaningful partnerships with local governments. But to do so, developers and operators must identify the folks who are going to be impacted and listen to their concerns. They need to cooperate with them to form positive relationships. And this is already happening in some cases at many of the existing nuclear plants. They're using best practices to establish trust and good relationships with neighbors around the plants. But it takes time to listen. It takes time to understand people's concerns, particularly in communities that are not currently hosting advanced or existing nuclear reactors, and to build trust. Is that happening today in localities that could become the home of the next generation of nuclear power? With the national energy community, the U.S. is competing with many other nations on advanced nuclear, and the winner will have a big economic and national security leg up in the global energy race. For the U.S. to win, it needs to move the conversation beyond R&D and to policies that support financing, deployment, and commercialization. Is the U.S. doing enough to spur the demonstration of first-of-a-kind technologies? Do investors really see an advanced nuclear sector and one that they're willing to invest in? And as part of that, is the pitch that advanced nuclear companies are making today sufficient for the private funding that they're going to need? Third, the international community. We have to acknowledge that civilian nuclear technology has a fraught reputation in the global sphere. The new generation of reactors has a big opportunity to integrate security and safeguard considerations into reactor design before they are deployed. And we did a study over the last 6 months to find out what was happening in the conversations between developers and security experts, safeguard experts, and the non-proliferation community. And we were surprised to find that a consensus is already emerging, that these communities are talking to each other and believe that advanced nuclear represents an opportunity to incorporate lessons from 60 years of commercial nuclear operating experience. And this would create a genuine opportunity to make the next generation of plants more secure and reduce the proliferation threat. If we did it here in the US, it could provide an opportunity for the US to reinforce its role as a global leader generally, and particularly around nuclear security and non-proliferation. And in today's world, that is a vital action that the US could take. Finally, we have the innovation community. Advanced nuclear is a powerful tool to potentially help fight against climate change, but it is not a silver bullet. To decarbonize the economy, nuclear must move out of the cul-de-sac it is occupied for a long time and partner with other clean energy technologies. This includes renewables, it includes carbon capture, it includes energy storage, and a number of others. And there's an immediate opportunity today and over the next several months to leave this cul-de-sac. There is a debate over how and how much the federal government invests in clean energy innovation. Advanced nuclear should work with its peers across all of the clean energy innovation community to fight for bigger federal investment across the board in every technology. And this is an opportunity that we have to seize now because it has real implications on innovation across these technologies and in our ability to compete with other countries that are investing significant sums of their own capital in this right now. Advanced nuclear has achieved a lot since our first summit 3 years ago, but there is still work to do. The success to date only carries so much weight if you don't get the acceptance and the support of the communities with which we interact. If you only take one thing away from this summit, we hope it is that nuclear power does not and cannot exist on its own island. Today, we hope serves as a catalyst to integrate nuclear into the climate, the energy, the global development, and the security communities it needs to thrive. And we are thrilled to bring you 4 panels and speakers of leaders who are making progress in all of these areas, who are building trust, who are having impact, and who will help advance nuclear commercialize and meet the needs of all these communities. And we hope that all of you are as inspired and encouraged by the speakers as we have been. And for our next speaker, I'm very pleased to welcome Mark Peters, the director of the Idaho National Labs. Thank you.